Slipknot without the screaming, an energy so stark, a Marshall Mathers without the rhymes, like executing Beethoven music without the lines. You know something's missing, but you can't figure out why. Maybe it was done and fleeing and the music's about to die. It's like the Snoop without the dog, and a tour without the smoke, Biggie without the Smalls, Tyson without the Broke, Led without the Zeppelin, Strummer without the Clash, Paul without Lennon, like Johnny without the Cash, like Mick without Keith, and the band without the Boss, just like Angus without the Young, and Wings without the Sauce, Guns without the Roses, Axl without Slash, a guitar without Jimmy, a finale without Mash. When life seems down and everything tattered, take a trip with us back to when the music mattered. When life seems down and everything tattered, take a trip with us back to when the music mattered. Music matters, music matters, music matters, music matters, music matters, music matters, music matters.
There's always this awkward pause between the music finishing and us starting the show, and I never know what to do. Last week I danced. Today I just sat there staring at the screen. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. When the Music Mattered. It's your boy, Toronto's pride and joy, Ray Rout. Fine solo tonight. My man out in Alberta's got some hosting duties, but I called in a ringer. Everybody knows I can't do this shit on my own. But I will get to that in a second. Thanks, everybody, tuning in to When the Music Matters. This is episode number 4. For those of you who were looking for Dear Pats Nation last week, lost power. Had to do that. But yeah, Connor, Mike, and I getting ready to get back at it. Speaking of Dear Pats Nation, let's talk about that a little bit. Do you know how I blew up Dear Pats Nation? Do you know how I got to that 20,000 subscriber mark? Do you know how I got signed with Newsbreak? Video Creator of the Year on Newsbreak, 50,000 fucking followers over there. You know how I got signed with Sportscaster and became a featured podcast on Spotify, 100,000 downloads. You know how I became the number 2 New England Patriots podcast in all of the world. You know how that happened? Here's how I blew up. I was able to identify young talent. I was able to see a reporter who's on the verge of just blowing up on ESPN. I saw an athlete who's maybe a second, third stringer who was ready to be a starter and take it over. And I would do these podcasts and I'd befriend them and we'd be cool. And then they'd blow the fuck up and I'd be like, hey, don't forget about me. Don't forget about the guy that let you do it first. And now Army Chris and I got together. We started this little music project here. And most people always knew me as a sports guy. I didn't realize I've been a musician a lot longer and a lot more passionately than I've been an athlete. And I thought, well, it worked when I identified young athletes. Could I identify young talent ready to blow up on the scene? And I think I did that. And I'm hoping that this works out for the both of us. I'm hoping that maybe this gives him a little notoriety, even though I'll be honest with you, I'm trying to ride his coattails a little bit right now. I might be a big name on the sports scene. I'm not a big name on the music scene, but I'm hoping that Ray Rout will just, take me other places. Maybe working for Dean Blundell fucked me up a little bit. I don't know. But I made him listen to me rant long enough. So maybe I should bring him in. He just dropped his brand new single, 25. And I've got some interesting takes on that song because it's a hit already as far as I'm concerned. Let me introduce to you Mr. Alex Hobson. Alex, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
That might have been the most generous introduction I've ever received. Thanks, man. I'm stoked to be here.
No, but I mean it, man. Listen, let's full disclosure. I discovered, listen to me. I'm like P. Diddy without the baby oil. But no, No, I was cruising TikTok as I do, and I'm not new to TikTok. Like I've had TikTok for a long time, but TikTok doesn't translate to the sports world. So we gave up on TikTok a long time ago. But starting this music project, starting when the music mattered, I'm not saying we're banging, but we're getting some traction. Some of our stuff hits, whatever. And I started following this country guy, and I'm not a big country fan, I'll be real with you, but I started following this country guy. I had a bit of some country rock sort of go, and had a song called Hell Yeah, and started following him. And I guess somehow, because you are the co-writer of Hell Yeah and you are the guitar player, that you came across my feed, and I heard 25. And I went straight to YouTube Music because I am a YouTube Premium subscriber, guys. I'm that old guy. I'm not Spotify. I'm not that shit. I'm that old guy. YouTube Premium. I hate ads, and I get music, so I'm good. Listen to 25. Dude, my wife and I listened like 10 times this weekend. We were driving around to farmers markets and that type of shit. Like, we're gonna get into it in a second, but I've talked long enough. Like this, the one thing people tell me is like, Ray, when you have a guest, you need to shut the fuck up and let your guest speak. But listen, we'll get into 25 and some of your upcoming work. I saw on TikTok you got a new song coming out soon too. We'll get into that in a minute. But I want to start by asking you, can you tell me a little bit about your story as a musician, and keeping with the show's spirit, why does music matter to you?
Well, so I'm going to actually pivot away from music to start, because hearing you talk in the intro about how you're a sports guy that's gone towards music, it's a very similar story to where kind of my trajectory and where we ended up. Like, music has always been a passion of mine. I've been playing guitar since I was 8 years old, and I've been playing in bands since I was 18 or so. And for the longest time, my main dream, I wanted to be a sports journalist. Like I wanted to be the next, Bob McKenzie on TSN. I wanted to be one of those guys. I grew up a gigantic Leafs fan. So, as soon as I, had access to a Weebly or a WordPress or whatever you want to call it, I was running my own blog and writing about the Leafs and things like that. And I've got an editing job with a site called the Leafs Nation right now. So that's still very much part of my life. But over the past couple of years, I would definitely say that music has kind of moved forward as the avenue that I want to take. Like, if I'm going to put something under the umbrella of a dream job, music is the one that I want to fall under. So like I said, I've been playing in bands since 2018. I was in a band called No Service that I played guitar for here and there, mostly sang for. And we actually just called it quits in January of this year, just because you realize after a while, when you've been doing something for 7 years, eventually it gets very hard to arrange to have 6 guys come back to KW to regularly practice and regularly play shows and, work with guys who are now living all over the province. It just became too hard. So we kind of just went out on a high note, and it worked out in a sense because about 2 years ago, Andy, who is the country singer you're talking about, the guy that I co-wrote Hell Yeah with, he had been a friend of mine for years because he played in a rock band called Revive the Rose out of Niagara. And we had played a show in Waterloo back in the day, and, became friends on Facebook, kept in contact here and there, etc. And we were always chill for those years, but it wasn't until I think 2022 that Andy asked me if I wanted to be part of his country project. And I said, dude, I've been wanting to jam with you for so long. This would be great. And didn't hear anything about it for a while. And then in 2023, he brought the discussion back, and he asked if I wanted to go to the studio with him to lay some guitars down on his song Wildcard Girl, which was his debut single. And then same kind of thing, the summer was sort of quiet. He released the song. And then a couple months later, he ended up scoring a couple of tour dates just by hustling. Like, this guy, I'm going to bring this guy up, and I'm going to bring up his hustle a lot during this interview if it goes the way I think it's going to. He never rests, and he is on top of sending people and sending agents messages, like, sending bands messages saying, hey, I'm looking to open for somebody. If you're coming through town, I'd love to help make a party with you guys. And he actually got on a couple tour dates with Robin Ottolini and Owen Regling, who are both a couple of country artists who have been kind of booming in the past couple of years, both Canadian, both from Ontario, actually. Owen Regling's he's in a big bunch of Bud Light commercials this summer for the Blue Jays, so you might have recognized his song Bud Light the Way from that. But anyway, at the time, we got these tour dates, and we played a date in Hamilton, we played a date in Toronto, and played a date in London. And it was just the two of us, 2 acoustic guitars, 5 songs to open up the show. And at the time we got these dates, we only had 3 songs ready to go. So Hell Yeah was kind of a byproduct of that. You know, he had wanted to get kind of more of a hype song into his rotation. And he had the main riff in that song, and I had the chorus chord progression. So we met in my living room in Fort Erie at the time and just sat down and hammered out the song in 2 hours. And that became a mainstay in our set. We added a cover in there. And once we played those shows, I think it was a bit of an awakening for both of us of what we're capable of if we put the work in, you know. Because I'll be fully honest with you, Ray. I was 100% with you at the time. I was not a country music guy. In fact, I was a denier for a long time. Like, I had one of my best friends is a huge country music fan, and he tried so hard to get me into it. And I just couldn't look past the cliche of, you know, beer and trucks and girls. And like, I didn't want to end up falling into that. And, you know, it just never really hooked me, I guess is the point that I'm trying to make. But when we played those first couple of shows, I really realized that the country scene and the crowds at those shows is completely different from anything else that I'd ever experienced before. Like, you know, you go to a rock show and there's like 4 local bands on the bill. There might be 30 people in attendance. You know, people are just going to see the band they want to see, and then they're leaving. It's almost a little bit, I don't want to paint the whole scene under the same brush, but it can be a little bit gatekeepy at times. Like, there's a lot of guys that are like, you know, going out to support who they want, but they're going to judge, and they're not really interested in sticking around to see everybody. Country was the exact opposite. We got there. Everybody was there to see the opening act. Everybody wanted to come up to us afterwards and talk to us and learn more about us and find out where we're from, when we're playing again. And it's just a very welcoming scene. Like, everybody there is just there for the good vibes. We had some people come up and say some really nice stuff. And I think once we played those shows, we kind of just realized, you know, there's a lot of potential here. Like, if we keep grinding at this, there's some potential that we can do something here. So we had a fun summer. We played, you know, dipped our feet into some festivals, a lot of opening slots, just a lot of kind of learning the scene. And that's really taken up a lot of my time over the past 2 years or so. It's just been learning this scene and you know, experimenting with a different, what was a different genre for both of us, different experience for both of us. And it was just very eye-opening, like I said. And in terms of my solo stuff, Andy and I actually took a trip down to Nashville in August of 2024. And it's a bit of a cliche to go somewhere and be like, this trip just changed my life. It was amazing. But in this case, I went down there, and genuinely my first trip to Nashville did change my life. Like, I've never seen a scene so vibrant and so full of people like-minded like me trying to make it in the music industry. I remember talking to a guy from Oklahoma down there, and we asked him, are you from Nashville? And he's like, dude, nobody in Nashville is from Nashville. Like, everybody down here is, you know, coming from somewhere else and trying to make it in the scene. And the first night that we were down there, we played an open mic, and I was originally just planning to play guitar for Andy for his song. I wasn't planning to do any of my own stuff, but I said, you know, while I'm here, I might as well sign up and play one of my own. And the reception was pretty solid. It wasn't 25, actually. It was a different song. But the reception was good. And then we got back, and I'm thinking, man, like, why wouldn't I release my own stuff right now? Like, I've got a whole bunch of songs that I've had on the back burner for a while. I don't really know where they fit in the projects that I've done before. So I'm going to say, screw it. I'm going to write some stuff. And, you know, over the next couple of months, I wrote 25 in the weeks leading up to my 25th birthday. And from there, it's just been a lot of figuring things out for myself. I obviously released that song. It was my debut. I dropped it in April, and the reception so far has been amazing. I can't thank people enough for going out and listening to it and, you know, giving this guy a shot. And to circle back after this gigantic tangent to your initial question, which is why the music matters to me. I think that there's been a significant boom lately in relatability. And I think that's really what people crave when they listen to music. I think that's why we're seeing country music become such a big dominating genre these days. And I think that's why you're seeing guys like Zach Bryan and Tyler Childers, you know, becoming so big and as big as they are, because they're great storytellers, and all their stuff stems from personal experiences. And I think, you know, in a time like the past 5-6 years or so, where there's been a lot of just no one knows what the hell's going on. Everyone's just trying to figure out their way through life. I think music, it's it's been said forever, but music is an escape for a lot of people. And, you know, I find it's therapeutic for me to write my own stuff and kind of take my experiences, good and bad, and put them into writing and kind of combine my experiences with a passion. And that's really what's inspired me in the past couple of years. Is just knowing how much people crave, you know, songs that they can relate to and artists that they can relate to. And when you have fun doing it, like the way that I do, I mean, I think most people would agree that writing music is a serious out, and it's a serious way to just kind of escape from life and put yourself in your own little word and tell your own story. So it's been a really, really fun couple of years, and it's been amazing just getting to kind of experiment with different things. I've got obviously I'm playing guitar in this country rock project. I've got my own project with it, which is rock based, but really I've got a whole bunch of songs that can fall under different genres. And then I play guitar in a punk band right now. Like I'm really just trying to dip my feet into as many kind of ponds as possible, and I want to see what works, and I just want to have fun doing it. And that's really what I've been doing. That's been the past couple of years in a nutshell for me. So there's 5 minutes of fluff, and hopefully the answer you were looking for at the end of it.
Dude, we're definitely going the hour. That's all I'm gonna say. Alex asked me before we started, how long is this interview going to be? And I was like, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour. It could go an hour. We're definitely using the hour. I'm not kidding you. My wife, because I told you, like, people tell me I need to shut the fuck up, came in because she thought I had a heart attack because nobody had ever heard me this quiet for that long. It's amazing. Dude, I made, like, in my head 4 different points to make on things you said. That was such a fulsome answer. Like, that was a Ray Rout answer. I love it. Like, you're amazing. Alex, you're amazing. I love what you said about the rock scene, because the rock scene has changed a lot. I assume you're a youngster. How old? Do you mind? I mean, if I ask how old you are?
I am 25 years old. That's why.
Yeah,
that's why that's the namesake of the song. And I'll get into it a little more when we talk about that song. But the one point that I want to say right now, just to clear it up, is that song is not specifically about being 25. It's applicable to anybody. But I just called it 25 because I wrote it as I was turning 25. Just
trying to figure your shit out. But I get it. So I'm 38. I'm a little bit older than you. And I was in the rock scene when I was younger. And I was in a weird band. We were like a punk alternative blend. You know what I mean? So like our sound was unique. And when you're playing these punk shows, I don't know if this is still the way the scene was, but when you're playing these punk shows, we're playing like the Burlington Y, and we're playing like, you know, the Rod and Gun Club in Walkerton, you know, like we're playing all these like just, you know, these little places. But there's some bands coming through who were on that scene. Sum 41 was blowing up at the time, and they were kind of on the tail end of that circuit. Rainbow Butt Monkeys had finally become Finger 11, and they would pop in every once in a while. This little folk singer that we liked named Avril Lavigne, and you know, and I was kind of like, you know, like in the tail end. None of those fucking guys know who I am today, because like we were like coming in as they were all coming out. And then, you know, we played with this one band, Three Nerds in a Bucket, and we all thought they were the next big band, but they're all like pop punk bands. And then we're coming in with this like weird stuff. And I'm bringing up this point because I'm thinking of Hell Yeah. You know, it's like, you need that banger. And I wrote a song called I Will. And it sounds nothing like Hell Yeah, but it's like a pop punk song. It's just three fast power chords. It's a G, and C, and a D. And I think there's like 9 words to the song. There's 2 verses and a chorus, and the whole chorus is I will, I will, I will, I will. You know, like, but that was like, hey, like we needed a song that people could catch on to. It's a song I hated playing the most. It's a song that I'm embarrassed that I wrote because there's no depth to it whatsoever. However, we fucking finished with I Will every night because that was the song that people knew us for. So, you know, 5 for you, 1 for them. That's what I always say. But I want to, okay, so I'm gonna come back. I do want to touch upon you being a Leaf fan. Things didn't work out for you this year, but I do want to share. But I do want to share this little video for everybody, if I could, because I kind of like it.
3 cheers for Ottawa. They never had a shot of wah. They must be smoking Ottawa, 'cause the Stanley Cup will never go to Ottawa.
There you go.
Love it. And of course you can follow Hobson. Where can they follow you? Sorry, I don't have your @in front of me.
No, that's That's all good. I'm Hobson_Alex on TikTok and Instagram, and those are the two platforms that I'd probably say I'm most active with my music stuff. Hobson, Hobson. So there you go.
And and he really has his own stuff on there. Obviously, that's where I found 25. He has some of that joke stuff. He also does like music tutorials, which I think are really cool as well, a guitar playing tutorial. So you can find all that. I'm actually going to jump here because you made a really interesting point talking about that connection, that realism that country music is bringing. But I don't even know if it's country music, because technology has obviously allowed artists an avenue for discovery, right? Like, and that evolution has made recording music easier. There was a time, Alex, that we weren't recording albums in our house, that we were going and paying lots of money at a studio, and we would lay down the guitar, lay down the drums, lay down the bass, lay down the vocals, put it all together. I was the lead singer, backup singer, and harmonies all in one, because nobody else in the band could sing. And then people would buy our CD. That's a compact disc for all you young assholes out there that used to spin and play music, kind of like vinyl, but not. And then people would be like, "Hey, you have all these harmonies. Like, where's the harmonies?" Well, I can't sing harmonies by myself, you know. But I'm a 38-year-old songwriter now. I smoked a pack a day for 20 years. I'm vaping now, but it's not much better for you. And I don't have the vocal cords or the lung capacity to be belting out music anymore. I'm going to be real with you. I just don't. I fool around with my guitars. I drum a little bit here in my office and have fun, but I don't have and I'm just too busy to go to the studio. I'm going to be real with you. But I still love writing. Like, I write lyrics all the time. I'm constantly writing lyrics. So over the last year, I've been writing lyrics and I've been using AI to produce music. You know what I mean? We're going to be starting a new thing on here, When the Music Matters. At the end of every show, I play one of my AI songs. I did none of the music. I produced a little bit, but I wrote all the lyrics. And it's just a way for me to be able to kind of stay involved in the music scene without being a part of it. All right. Obviously, dude, playing guitar and drums is a lot more fun than prompting an AI machine, but AI has given me that avenue to create without actually having to perform and embarrass myself. Because I used to be a high-pitched singer that now has this low baritone voice, and I don't know how to use it. So that was a long. See, this is where I got to shut the fuck up now, right? But
this is just going to be how it's going to go. It's going to be back and forth. You talk for 10 minutes, I talk for 10 minutes, and I love it.
That's it. So I guess my question is for you: is as a musician who's putting in the work and creating music the traditional way, connecting with people, you see assholes like me just releasing songs that I got AI to do the work for him. Do you see AI as a threat? Do you see it as a unique opportunity? Is it something you even care about in the grand scheme of things?
That's a tough question to answer, because I think that the general stance that I have on it is that it's great as a tool, but once it gets to the point where it starts, I guess, threatening actual musicians is when it starts to make me a little bit uncomfortable. And I will say, I don't see any issue with you using AI, because I think that's like you said, if you don't have, the capacity to sing and produce your own tracks anymore, but you still want to kind of put your lyrics in a home, I don't see anything wrong with that. And especially, not because I know it's a lot easier said than done just to have a band on hand for you to record music to as well. And it's, if you just want to maintain your creative juices and keep those going, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I won't lie. There have been times where, I've used ChatGPT, not for writing at all, but, if I wanted to create a promo poster, I wanted to do something that I can't, I can't draw for shit or anything like that. So I wanted to do like a promo poster or like a funny photo or something to post. Sure. Sometimes I'll throw an AI prompt at like Meta AI or something like that. But I think as long as it doesn't get to a point where, people are flat out abandoning human talent just because AI is the easier way to do it, and they have the choice, but they just say, you know what, it's 10 times quicker and 100 times cheaper to use AI than it is to get a team of musicians to do it. That's where it starts to make me a little bit uncomfortable. I can't remember who it was. There was a rapper. I don't want to misquote this guy. I want to say maybe it was T-Pain. I'm not 100%, but I saw someone that just launched his own AI record label that's entirely AI artists, and that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. I won't lie, but I think as long as it's kept to a tool and it's kept to something that can help your creativity but not completely replace it, I think that it's fine. I guess that's my stance on it.
All right, so Man, I'm all over the place right now. I appreciate that. Yeah, like that opening intro we did was an AI song. That was lyrics that I wrote.
I was gonna say I've never heard that before, but it was kind of sick.
That was it was actually a so I write like a lot of like post grunge alternative music, and it was a post grunge alternative song I wrote that I then turned into I deleted a lot of stuff, turned it into a rap song, and just did our intro, right? But I'm going to tie this in because shit, we're going to get to 25 eventually, I promise. Maybe we'll finish with it.
Sure.
We'll lead up to 25 and some of your other projects you got going on. But I'll tell you why I'm impressed. And I kind of did like my little intro at the beginning, but maybe for those who jumped in now to watch it or fast forwarded because Ray was talking too much, I'm going to take a minute here to set this up if I can. Okay? Because it's got to make sense. So 25 years ago, what you are doing and what I am doing would not be running parallel. You'd be out banging the music scene. I'd be here talking about music. Maybe we'd come in contact with each other, but we'd be doing very different things. But I'm watching you and Andy, and obviously my connection started with Andy. I'm watching you guys work your ass off on social media to promote yourself and your music. And I can't help but compare what you guys are doing on the music scene to what I'm doing on the digital content scene. You know, I started creating digital content in 2011 when you were like, I don't know, 4. You know? Well, like I didn't get into the video and audio thing probably till about 2017. So from 2011 to 2017, like I was just writing blogs and I was working my ass off in the digital content scene, writing music, writing about sports. Actually, I was writing about hockey, and then. But the goal once I started thing was always to get signed by a network, which, you know, I've cut my teeth in sports content. I assumed 20,000 YouTube subscribers. I signed with a company called Sportscaster. We became their lead featured podcast. You know, we're talking, I think we averaged 15 to 20,000 live views on their video stream 5 days a week. You know, we went 5 days a week. So we're getting 100,000 views a week. It's the number 2 New England Patriots podcast worldwide. Got a lot of success. Then we got let go. We signed the big joke is we signed a massive deal in October, like a massive deal. And then they let us know in December that they went broke and had to let us go. So it was kind of funny. But so then I got signed by this thing called Newsbreak app. I got like 50,000 followers on there. I was the 2021 Video Maker of the Year. And then I signed with the former Dean Blundell Network. He's a former shock jock here in Toronto on the Edge 102.5. Then it turned into Crier Media. And then I quit the network in the summer of 2023. Haven't really done much outside of that, besides like a project with my wife. And now Chris and I started When the Music Matters, and I'm bringing Dear Patch Nation back with my original partner who I blew up with. And we're starting from scratch and we're building a new audience and putting in the work, right? Like it's funny because I'm reaching out to guys like you thinking like they're gonna look at my 50 fucking TikTok subscribers or like look at my 3,000. Like I don't have the following I had, you know what I mean? Like, and I can't prove like, no, I promise I'm a somebody, you know, like please talk to me. But we're trying to attract a network because we're doing the exact same thing that you're doing with your music. I assume it's to attract a label. Right? Yep. Like that's what it is. Obviously fans are important and connect with your audience support. I'm not getting away from that. Our audience is always going to be the most important thing in the world, but I want a network, you want a label because I love doing this, but I don't want to do it for free. You know, I want to make, I want some money. I want this to be my job. I don't want to go to work tomorrow. I want to come here and do this my job. Here's my question. How important has social media been to you to building that music career? And how on the ball do you have to be posting content? Because you guys post a fucking lot, man.
I would say social media is single-handedly the reason that I've been able to do what I've done in the past couple of years. And sorry, I shouldn't say single-handedly because I'm thinking of things from a couple different standpoints. I would say the social media thing really helped me and inspired me to get my first song out. And social media, for context, I'll give you an example here, is why Andy and I just not last weekend, but the weekend before, we went out east for the first time and played a couple of shows out there. It was because Andy's developed a following on TikTok, and he all of a sudden got to a point where he had people commenting on his videos saying, come here, I want you to come here, come to Toronto, come to Montreal, come to Halifax, etc. He's been getting requests like that everywhere. And he had enough people in Halifax area and in the Moncton area to schedule a couple of shows out there. And when you do that, it's always a little bit risky because there's a lot of factors you have to consider. How much are you going to get paid? Are they going to be able to accommodate anything for you? Is it one of those situations where you're going to have to be responsible for selling tickets? Or, is it smarter to just try and hop as an opener on a bill? And eventually we pushed that stuff enough that we sold 40 tickets in Halifax, which, on the forefront may not sound like much, but we packed this tiny little pub in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia called the Woodside Tavern. Had some people in the area that we knew already come out, but there were also people that we had never met before who found us through TikTok. And I remember actually talking to one of these guys who came from TikTok. I was at the bar with him. And he's like, man, I saw Andy's Hell Yeah video pop up, and I said immediately, I'm going to come out and see this show. And, he's like, whenever you guys are back, man, I'll be here, and I'm bringing friends next time. I'm a fan for life. And that, just little comments like that make you want to do it forever. And, Andy, I say that it's not entirely social media because, social media is arguably what kind of helped us reach this next level here and help us get to a point where we can realistically plan tours out of province. But none of that happens without Andy's hustle. And I'm going to circle to Andy here because I've taken a lot of inspiration from him. I cannot say enough good things about that guy. Not only does he work 24/7, he's like an insurance broker during the day, and everything else in his life is dedicated towards trying to get his music out there. He like me, he's got a couple of different projects on the go. Like I said, he plays in a rock band as well. And he is just always on the grind, always emailing people, always trying to make connections and get his name out there. And he does it all with a smile on his face. Like, I feel like when you get to a point when you're grinding so much and it almost starts to take the fun out of it, you feel like, am I doing this for myself, or am I doing this just to kind of feed the beast and try and hope that I hit a gold mine or something like that? But Andy does it all with a smile on his face. And from the very beginning, he's been super generous with me. Like, he'll pick me up and he'll bring me to a show, won't charge me gas money. He'll pay me half of the money for the show. And then and the entire time he'll be super gracious to me. And I'm like, dude, I would do this for free. Like, you're bringing me out here to play in front of crowds that I've never seen before. And that's all I want to do. Like, I always tell people in music, the only thing that I want to accomplish is I want to be able to travel and play music and write it for a living. And it's a lot to ask for. But the fact that we've been doing this for so long, we've played shows all across Ontario. We played our first show in Nashville, actually, back in April. And just did this out east thing. We've got a whole bunch of festivals lined up. We're doing it all with a smile on our face, and we've got the best crew assembled. And the number one thing that we have there is that everybody has good vibes. Everybody's there for a good time. We're all friends outside. We're not just, musicians that are being forced to collaborate with each other. We're all friends, and we're all just trying to get out there and have fun with each other. And I would say that without that hustle and without that mindset of trying to keep the vibes up, it wouldn't have led to the social media traction, and it wouldn't have led to the tour. So I think that the hustle on social media is very important. I think that you really got to be diligent in finding the line between posting 24/7 and identifying the spots that are really working for you. So in my case, the photo trends, I think that's how you found me. The photo trends, you'll see a whole bunch of upcoming artists do this. I've seen a whole bunch pop up on my For You page on TikTok. It'll just be something like, you post a photo of yourself with your new song, and you'll put a caption on there like, congratulations, you just found a brand new country or a brand new rock artist from Canada. This is my debut single, 25, etc. And then because that's a trend right now, and because so many people are doing that, it'll find its way into the algorithm. And you don't really have that happen on platforms like Instagram or Facebook. Like, if you're lucky, someone will reach it and someone big will share it, and you'll get followers or you'll get listeners outside of your follower base. But that it's a lot more than that. It's not as simple as just, put something out there and hope you blow up. On TikTok, I find that it's the best app for having your stuff reach outside of your follower base, and getting it into that algorithm and finding the trends that work is crucial. Because if you sit there and you post 24/7, obviously you're going to give yourself better odds than you would if you weren't posting at all. But it does burn you out after a while. And if you don't have anything happen, then you're going to be sitting there eventually thinking, shit, like I'm making 5 posts a day and for what? Right. So I think that it's a very important line to walk. You got to find the areas that work. And like you mentioned, the tutorials and stuff that I do too, those are kind of for my brand, but they're also just because I like the idea that I'm helping people learn songs. And, you know, I posted my first one. I wasn't even intending to do a tutorial. I posted a cover of Loving You on My Mind by Chris Stapleton, just the first verse, first chorus. And I had, you know, did okay on TikTok, and I had someone comment requesting for a tutorial. And I'm like, I've never done this before, but, you know, if someone wants to, I'll take a shot at it and just see how it goes. And 58 people ended up saving that TikTok. And in my eyes, if I helped 58 people learn a new song, like I feel like I've accomplished something, even if I haven't made any money off of it, or even if I haven't, you know, personally benefited from it outside of maybe getting a couple of followers. I think the idea that I've helped a couple people learn a song is enough to inspire me to want to do more. And I think it's just a matter of, like I said, finding the balance between stuff that you like to post and stuff that the algorithm likes. Because, you know, I won't lie, sometimes I post those photo trends and it starts to feel like I'm just kind of, you know, feeding a machine. And I'm like, I'm just kind of, I don't know how to call it, but like, it almost feels like I'm losing my authenticity. I'm just like doing what every other artist is doing. But then I stop and think, like, you know, I found some great artists through this, and there's no other specific blueprints for getting people to hear your music besides that. And so I think that as long as you don't lose yourself in the trends and you still maintain that balance of posting stuff that you like, that's why, you know, I post some covers on there. I post a couple tutorials here and there. I'll post some funny content. Like my 2 best performing TikToks so far have been a Blue Jays themed one and a Leafs related one. Oh, you played the Leafs one. The Blue Jays one I posted, I was playing the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme when they got shit slapped on opening day, and people thought that was hilarious. So
yeah, I felt like I was going to get copyrighted for that one, so that's why I went with the Leaf one instead.
Yeah, well, you know what? It would have been I think a little more of a concern had I actually used the song, but I was just playing a horrible acoustic guitar version of it. So, but anyway, point that I'm trying to get to after all this, after all those ramblings, is that social media is a huge part of it, but you have to balance the stuff that you like and the stuff that you feel works for you and the stuff you feel obligated to do, so that you don't burn yourself out from doing it. I think as long as you find that balance, you're doing the right thing. But definitely keeping an eye on the trends and what people are doing and stuff that's working for other bands has really helped me. And just to circle back on this one more time, Andy and I only got that tour out east because back in January, he posted one of those photo trends. It was literally a photo of him eating a foot-long hot dog at a Niagara Ice Dogs game. And it got, if my numbers are correct, I think it got 27,000 likes on it, because that one, for whatever reason, it just popped off. It was the photo of him. I've got it right here. It was him saying, "My music isn't popular yet, so if you're hearing this on your For You page, your ears are built different." 26,000 likes, 834 comments, 1,700 saves, which is the big one, and 161,000 views. So he had one of those pop off like that. And the results is, you know, feeding that fire, continuing to do it worked. And eventually he had enough people commenting, asking for us to come out east, that we were able to make it happen. So, like I said, following the trends, but also maintaining your own spice and not just becoming kind of a dumping ground for trendy stuff, I think is a big part of it. But overall, social media, and specifically TikTok, I find for music is a big help.
Well, there's a learning lesson, people. If you want to get famous, just post a picture of yourself eating a foot-long hot dog,
literally,
and you'll be good. Yeah, and I think it was around January, to be honest, that I found Andy. I was one of those people with different ears. And you guys, I don't know if you were going with him, but he was at least coming up to Newmarket. And I was like, oh, shit, I want to come see this guy. And fuck, I was getting married down in the Dominican. So I had things to do.
You know, that's too funny because, yes, I did play that show with him. It was the two of us. And again, that bar in Newmarket, super small, but we had 15 people in there or so, and it felt like we were playing at Wembley. So it was a lot of fun, and it's funny actually because when I told Andy that I was doing this podcast, I told him about how you were planning to come see us in Georgetown next month, and you wanted to come to Newmarket, but you couldn't. He's like, you know what? I specifically remember someone commenting for that Newmarket show saying they wanted to come, but they were getting married. So he remembers that. And it just, like I said, it goes a long way. Like even commenting something and just saying, I'd love to come to this, whatever it might be. This stuff resonates with people. So
a couple of years ago, I did a project with Canadian Country Music Hall of Famer Jason McCoy. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
Yep. He's a radio host as well, right?
Yeah, correct. I think he kicks or something up in Barrie. So we did this project together with women in trades and that type of stuff, and actually tagged along with them a little bit on their Great Canadian Road Tour. It was him, Doc Walker, and Michelle McCoy, and I was doing a bit of like a little documentary thing with them. He's also a part of the country rock, southern rock band called the Roadhammers. And while we were doing this project, he was telling me that back when they were getting big, they put a lot of time into building their MySpace page. And I'm not sure if you even know what MySpace is, but
I believe it or not, I had a MySpace account.
Okay.
I was definitely too young to have one, and my dad was definitely over my shoulder making sure I didn't do anything egregious. But I at the tail end of MySpace's success, I had an account.
Okay, so you know what it is. For everybody else, MySpace was basically like a Facebook type of thing. It was really the TikTok of the 90s. Dane Cook blew it up. The comedian Dane Cook was the first one to have like a million friends on MySpace, and you could just upload. And a lot of musicians use it because you could upload your music and people could come discover you. And then suddenly one day it was just gone. And he was talking about how, we put all this work and time into MySpace and then it was gone. And he did caution musicians today about, TikTok's not going to be here forever. You think it is because everybody thought MySpace was going to be there forever, and then it disappeared. So you put that time into social media, and you talked about Andy working his ass off, and you talked about playing these shows, and that's what I want to get into. How do you balance the time that you put into social media, the time that you put into creating new music, because you can't just keep playing Hell Yeah and 25 over and over again. People are going to grow bored. I feel honored that Andy remembered my comment, and I did want to, make that comment for you guys that, dude, I commented on yours. And I was like, I can't wait for you to come to Toronto. And I think it was like 10 minutes later, you're like working on it. Like you guys are on the ball with your comments. And Andy did reply to mine and be like, definitely, when we're coming. And then how important is performing live, right? Because I think it was Billy Joe Armstrong who said, there's no experience like performing live. No musician can really get the experience of being a musician until performing live. And I ran myself ragged because MySpace was barely a thing when I was still playing music. MSN Messenger was the big one for us that we were trying to connect with people and like, hey, we got a show tonight. There's still 140 tickets left of the 140 stadium. But like, how important to you is balancing that time? How do you balance the time with the social media, like you said, and creating new music, but also how important is performing live?
For the balance thing, I would say that you just have to avoid burnout. That's the main thing, because if you burn yourself out, you're not going to want to make music. It's going to hurt your product, and you won't feel the drive to do anything before. And it's very possible for you to do that by oversaturating your promotion and trying to put everything that you have and all your time and space into posting. And, for me on TikTok, I don't really try and force posts. If I decide one night I want to post one of those trends, those photo things, whatever, I'll go ahead and do it. Sometimes I'll just be playing a song by myself and I'm like, yeah, this cover's sounding pretty good. Let's post it on TikTok. But I don't ever force any posts. Like if I really just have an idea of the stuff that I like to get out there. And when I feel the urge to do it, I do it. Even right now, like I think it would be safe to say maybe that I do one a day, but it's really not even that. Like it can be like one every 2 days, one every 3 days or something like that. So I'm not sitting there, with TikTok open on 4 different monitors 24/7 trying to figure out what content the algorithm's going to like. So I would just say that the main thing that you gotta be cautious of is not burning yourself out, because if you burn yourself out, the whole reason that I think anybody does music and wants to do anything in this scene is because of the enjoyment of it. Like, you know, there's some people out there that are in it for the money, and they think they have talent and they want to turn it into a hustle, and that's great. But in the end, you have to be liking what you're doing, because if it starts to feel like work and it starts to feel like posting on TikTok is just another job of yours, you're going to be hit with the burnout like a fucking slap across the face, because you'll realize, am I making money off this right now? No. So what's it all for? And I think as long as you avoid getting to that point and you just keep it sort of as a tool to promote yourself instead of trying to rely on it to get your name out there, and, you know, sitting there just patiently waiting for that big break and thinking that, you know, if you post 400 times a day, one of them will hit. I think at that point you got to be careful, because like I said, you burn yourself out, the enjoyment goes out the window, and it hurts everything from the product to the drive. Like it doesn't do anything for anybody. In terms of playing live, I think playing live is a huge thing. But the number one thing that I would say I'm doing right now is I'm really putting a focus into, for myself, at least for Hobson, if you want to call it that, I'm putting more of a focus into playing kind of like pubs and breweries and those shows with cover sets that are like 2 to 3 hours long, because that's where the money is right now. And the reality is, as much as I just went off on a big tangent and said it's not about the money, and, you know, you want to, you know, you just do it for the love of the music. If you burn yourself out by, you know, making these big trips and not doing anything, or making these big trips, I should say, going and playing in these opening slots and playing with a band and, you know, getting paid $55 to split down the middle between 6 guys or 4 guys or whoever you have in your crew, eventually that tires you out. So if you can, I think playing live is important, but if you're in a position where you're still trying to get your name out there, starting off with the gigs that pay money and playing at bars and playing at restaurants and doing those sets where you might be playing a whole bunch of top 40 covers that nobody is really, you know, they've heard performed a million times, but that's what they want to hear. It's the songs that they recognize. And, you know, the covers are a big part of it. And I'll put this into perspective for the band as well. Andy and I, we play every couple months, we play at this bar in Niagara Falls called Big Texas. And when you play there, it's a 4-hour set every time. You're on from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. And you can throw a couple originals here and there, but for the most part, you're playing to a crowd of drunk 20-year-old college students. And all they want to hear is Morgan Wallen and Post Malone and Luke Combs and Tyler Childers, Zach Bryan, whatever. They want to hear the songs that are on their playlist. But those shows pay well. They pay the band like $800. That's $200 a guy for the final unit. And what I've started doing specifically in terms of my projects is any music or any money that I make from playing a show like that, I put into a separate account. And anything that I do in music that involves investing in something like going and recording a song, I take the money that I've earned from that and I put it towards that. So I'm not constantly dipping into my savings account to try and support myself here. So anyway, that was really my starting point for playing live. But I think if you can get to a point where you're going out and you're getting that comfortability playing in front of people, and you know how to talk to a crowd, and you know how to engage with people, and you know how to approach different settings. Like I've played shows to restaurants with 3 people maybe. And when I do that, I don't go in there and get all discouraged when I'm finished up playing and nobody claps, or you have that one person in the background. Yay. Right? Like it's kind of hard at times to get discouraged, or to not get discouraged when you hear that. It's like, man, no one's even here listening to me. Right?
That's me. I'm always that guy when nobody's clapping. It's hey!
Right. And you know what? I'll tell you a quick little story here. I played at this place in Port Colborne called the Reeb House. And basically what it was is I got paid $100 to play an hour-long set and then host an open mic. There was nobody there for the open mic. I played an hour long to about 5-6 people, I think. And then after I stopped playing and we opened up the floor, I guess if you want to call it that, no, I think one person came up and played a song, but that was it. So I still had about 2 hours to fill. So what I did is I treated it like a band practice. I treated it like a rehearsal. I sat there and I worked on songs that I wasn't completely comfortable with, that I hadn't played live before. And I found stuff that worked, and I found stuff that I was like, you know what? I probably need to put some more work into that one before I bring it into a set again. So I guess the point that I'll make here is that there's no negative to playing live, because in the end, the experience that you're getting and just the more and more you get comfortable with what you're doing, the better. And that is going to happen when you play these shows. And then all of a sudden you'll have a show mixed in there where you're playing to a packed brewery or a packed restaurant. And all of a sudden, you know, you might have a group of people at a table near you that's chanting, and they're yelling requests and they want more. Learning how to communicate with those people and kind of make yourself that stage presence and walk the line between giving them what they want, but also getting your own stuff out there and doing what you want, I think is important. So there's a lot of different aspects that go into it, but playing live is super important. I would say that if you're somebody just getting started, try and get some of those bar gigs, because it'll be a lot easier to stay motivated if you can find a bar that'll be willing to pay you $100, $200, whatever it is, to play for a couple of hours. And if you walk out of there with money in your pocket, it helps a lot. And it leaves you feeling like, okay, maybe I can do this and make some money while I'm just doing this myself. Like when I said I'm working on getting to Toronto, I have not yet played a show as Hobson with my originals, with a band behind me. That is yet to happen. So if I make it out to Toronto, very possible my first show out there is going to be playing at a brewery or a bar or something, and playing for an hour and a half, walking home with $100, $150, whatever it might be.
It should be Newmarket, Ontario, by the way. It should be Newmarket.
You know what? I got a contact there now, so we'll see. But I think like I said, especially if you're starting off as a solo artist, I think getting out there and using those first couple of shows, playing covers and stuff to get comfortable with it. Then by the time you've met enough people who have said, this guy's pretty good, I definitely come see him again if he's in town. By that point, maybe you're a little more comfortable. Maybe you know that there are a couple of covers that you can absolutely nail, as opposed to a couple that you're playing just so that the crowd likes it. And maybe at that point you're ready to form a band behind you, and you've got the comfort and you've got the confidence, I guess, to put on a show, and you don't feel like you're going up there and you're kind of new at it. So I don't know if that made sense or if that answered your question.
No,
but that's
perfect.
That's what I'm going for.
Dude, I don't remember what the question was. I was just enjoying listening.
It was a two-parted question. It was like, what's your approach to playing live, and how do you use social media?
Bro, this is the least Chris doesn't talk a lot. I do most of the talking. So I'm just digging, sitting here right now, listening to you. Before we get into 25, because we are going to get into 25 and wrap this up here in a minute. Do you think that you and Andy are going to be hindered in the country world because Andy doesn't have two first names and nobody can pronounce his last name? He's not Alan Jackson or Luke Bryan or Jake Owen or George Jones. And I did ChatGPT names, but Randy Travis, I was actually looking, going, Andy Colonico.
Yep. This happens. Right? This happens everywhere, man. And you know what? I don't think he's going to be hindered by it, because Andy specifically, if you meet him in person, he's got the personality of a guy, and he's got the approachability. Like, I think that's a big thing right there, is if you have things like that, like a last name that's hard to pronounce that people might not always remember off the hop, you really got to make an effort to put yourself out there and really treat the fans that are there to see you with respect, and show them how much you appreciate it, because that'll resonate with people, especially if they already find you talented. And you know what? I'm saying this because this is quite literally how I became involved with Andy. I saw his band Revive the Rose play at the show that he played with my band. And I wasn't just listening to it like, okay, this is a guy that I'm playing, that I just met, I'm hearing his band for the first time. I was sitting there watching the show like a fan, because I listened to their music beforehand. It was right up my alley, very Foo Fighters sounding kind of rock and roll music, just meat and potatoes, guitars, drums, bass. Like, he's got a very powerful voice. And I became friends with him because I talked to him frequently, and he was just like a buddy that I could hang out with. And he's so humble, and he never expects anything, but the fact that he's got that personality and he's that approachable makes all the difference for him. And it also just helps that you go to a show and he's like this 5'6" chubby guy with a beard. It looks like he loves to fucking grill a burger and host a cookout at his place. And he's just the kind of guy you want to have a beer with.
He's 5'6"?
Yeah.
That's amazing, because
he might even be 5'5". I'm not 100%. He's small.
He films down. Is he just? I thought he was like this beast of a
Nope.
human being.
He is 5'5" or 5'6". I think he's the tallest one in his family too. So
Oh,
he
is he Italian?
Yes, he is.
Oh yeah, there you
Very,
go.
very Italian. You should see him when he's recording vocals in the studio. His hands are always like this when he's singing. But anyway, yeah, the last name thing is funny because that first show that we played, actually, I remember walking by. I was walking through the area where Robin Ottolini, who was opening the show, or sorry, she was headlining the show. I walked through and I wished her luck, and she's like, "Thank you, you guys too." Just question, how do you pronounce Andy's last name? And I said, "It's Colonico." And she goes, "Okay." And then she goes on stage when she was just starting off, she was doing her shout out. She's like, "Let's hear it for Andy Colonico." So he's used to that. He's used to people butchering his name. And he actually, when he started this project, he was originally going to go by the alias Daytime Broker. Like that was going to be the name of his country band. But he decided that, all of his songs were super like personal and written about personal experiences. He just thought it would be better to keep that under his name and be as authentic as possible. And I think that he's maintained that authenticity, whether, you hear him in it, whether you hear it in his music or whether you talk to him at a show. He's not the kind of guy who's like, he gets off stage and he's a completely different person. Like he is the same person 24 hours out of the day, 7 days a week. And I think that really helps him because he's approachable. He's nice. He's easy to talk to. And as a bonus, he's a great musician. He's got an awesome voice. So
I guess since you said Daytime Broker, I will do a little shout out that you can get Andy's EP, Daytime Broker.
There you go. There you go.
So
that's right. Yeah.
Now it all makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Honestly, you've kissed Andy's ass enough. It's time to talk about Hobson. All right. So you wrote your single 20 or released, you released your single 25. And I've been listening to it a lot, like probably unhealthily a lot. I'll be honest with you. I really, really like it. When you look at the YouTube clicks from YouTube Music, it's me.
Sweet. I actually don't even know if I have access to my YouTube analytics right now. It's really just Spotify and Apple Music, but I'll take your word for it.
Nice. And I was trying to classify it, and it's what we do here. It's our show. And we pretend to be experts. And I was trying to kind of classifying it as, I'll be real with you, like some like post grunge alternative. I heard some Smashing Pumpkins in there with like, but then like I was listening to it today and I heard like a little bit of like Thunder Roads from Garth Brooks. Like it was just really kind of cool. Like you had this like cool little blend, some wallflowers in there. You know what I mean? Like it's all kind of mixed up. And I've been seeing this reset in music recently, especially on the TikTok scene. I don't know if you're familiar with the band, the Paradox. They've been bringing back that kind of like late 90s, early 2000s pop punk vibes, like the Simple Plans and Blink-182s. Blink-182 suddenly has this huge resurgence with young fans. And there's a ton of examples out there. You just go on TikTok and put in pop punk, and it's dude, I'm following a guy right now who was like a pop, like hasn't performed since 2003, and he's trying to make a comeback now. Like it's rewritten. So at least in my humble opinion, there's a lot of new music out there that's kind of tailored to millennials like myself. Like, and I'm the tail end, like I'm the young millennial, and it's kind of like geared towards us. So here's my question for you. Who are your music influences? And how did those artists and songs that you enjoy, how did they play a part in your writing of 25?
So I'll tell you right now, and I don't know if you'll be able to, you might hear it as soon as I say this, but hands down, without a doubt, my biggest influence on my music is Billy Talent. They were...
There you go.
Yep. Sorry, my headphones just fell off. This is a horrible pair.
They're touring right now, by the way. Anybody who likes Billy Talent, it's been a while, so you can go see Billy Talent tour. I believe they're also playing the Friends Festival this year. As I kill time.
I had a piece of hair that was sticking out right there that was pissing me off so
much.
Worries. I had to deal with that.
I was promoting Billy Talent while you were doing
I love
that.
it.
So
that's exactly what I would have wanted you to do. But Billy Talent's my favorite band of all time. I remember when I was 8 years old, this is like one of my first introductions to rock music. I was on vacation with my family in Florida, and they had their laptop down there, and they had Windows Media Player on it with a whole bunch of burned songs that they had taken from different bands. And they had 3 songs by Billy Talent. They had Try Honesty, River Below, and The X. And I heard Try Honesty, and it's like I watched the music video for it, and it's like my life was changed. And then I didn't listen to them for a while. And then when I was in high school, I got really into them again. And that's when I really kind of appreciated how good of how good of a guitarist Ian DeSaw is. First of all, the way I like to put it, and guitarists will understand this, he makes drop D interesting. That's the main thing. It's like, you drop D kind of gets a bad rap for all you need is one finger to play the chords. You can write whatever heavy riff you want with it, but he makes it very interesting and takes it way beyond just, playing those chords with one finger. And the other thing that really stuck out to me about Billy Talent, which I think you might even be able to hear now that I've said it, is their harmonies. Billy Talent's harmonies are single-handedly inspire how I approach singing harmonies when I'm with Andy. And, if you listen to 25, the harmony that I hit at the end of the second verse, the line where it's like, where the voices right about all that they said, like that is a Billy Talent inspired harmony right there. So I would say that they're definitely my biggest influence in general, just because I'm going to be honest. I can't sing like Ben Kowalowitz. I don't have the range that he does. If I tried to do any of those screams, I'd be mute for the next 3 days. So I do kind of stay in my lane in that sense, but their songs are incredibly catchy. I love the message of a lot of them. And like I said, Ian DeSaw, my first quote unquote band that I ever played in was me jamming with a couple of my buddies in my garage, my parents' house, playing pretty much Billy Talent's entire discography, or as best as I could. And, I think just the fact that these guys are now in their 40s and they sound the exact same. Maybe Ben doesn't scream quite as much, but they sound pretty much the exact same as they did back in 2005, has really inspired me. And I love the idea that they can just start. They can write this angry shit in the early 2000s as a couple of angsty 20-year-olds, and then they can replicate that as a couple of 45-year-olds playing to gigantic crowds. And I think that the fact that their music has remained so timeless like that has really inspired me. In terms of the songwriting aspect of it, it's really hard for me to nail it down. Because a lot of I'll set up a little bit of a trajectory for you here. My first loves were the bands like Billy Talent, 3 Days Grace, Sum 41. Those are the bands that kind of like catapulted me into music. Then in high school, after my Billy Talent stage, I got into a really heavy classic rock phase. I started listening to the Eagles a lot. And, I talk about harmonies. The Eagles, in my opinion, are one of, if not the best band in history for harmonies. And I really took that away. Leonard Skinner, I listened to a bunch. I love, that really kind of catapulted my love for classic rock and writing songs that's at that Southern rock twang. And then in the past couple of years, I actually, for the longest time, I really held myself back as a guitarist. I played guitar a little bit in my first band, but we ended up adding a new drummer and we put our previous drummer on rhythm guitar. So I ended up just singing at that point. And then when the pandemic hit, I sat down and I'm like, why am I just holding myself to being a campfire guitarist right now? Like I can do better. So I really tried to dial in on playing lead guitar. One of my biggest influences for that was Stevie Ray Vaughan. And, obviously he's in a world of his own in terms of talent, but I've really tried to incorporate some blues aspects into my songs. I've got a song actually that's pretty much done, hoping to have it out in the fall. It's called Small Time Gambler. And that song, like, this is just to show you where my influences lie and how all over the map they are, because I just went on a big tangent about how 25 was very Billy Talent influenced. This song that I have, Small Time Gambler, is like if Stevie Ray Vaughan and the Bare Naked Ladies had a baby. And I think it's a very blues inspired song. I've got some very bluesy licks in there. The main riff of the song is a nice little blues walk down. And I would say he inspired the musical side of that. Bare Naked Ladies inspired the lyrical side of it. I've got a very, the song in general is, it's kind of funny because I talk about my own experiences. Small Time Gambler is about my first ever true meeting with the tax man. The first time that I got hit with a tax bill across the face, and it humbled the shit out of me. And I'm like, Jesus, like this is what people are bitching about all the time. So in that time, I was also, I was betting on like football and like baseball and stuff like that. Nothing crazy, just putting down like these little $5 stupid $10 bets and stuff. you know, in the back of my mind, I'm dealing with all this tax bullshit. I'm thinking, man, what if I just like hit one of these bets and became rich and all these problems went out the window? That's what Small Time Gambler's about. It's kind of A, about getting hit with taxes, B, also about how gambling can take a serious toll on your life and how it can ruin your life. But the small time gambler, who I was referring to myself as, he does it just for the rush. He doesn't do it to try and make a living. He just does it. The hook of the song is the small time gambler does it just to feel alive. And that's really what I wrote the song about. But Bare Naked Ladies, to bring it back to that, little bit of some of their lyrics are a little bit sarcastic almost. They've got some funny lines out there that stick with fans. And, you know, you look at the Bare Naked Ladies and no one out here is saying that Ed Robertson is one of the best guitarists of all time. No one's saying that, you know, Tyler Stewart's the best drummer of all time. Granted, they don't have to be. Because they're great musicians. They have a great idea of how to write songs, and they know the kind of stuff that crowds like, and they put their own spice into it. And, you know, they're still going strong to this day. And again, not a slight on Ed Robertson or Tyler Stewart. I didn't mean to single out those two specifically, but I just remember listening to some songs of theirs. You know, I think obviously If I Had $1 Million is an easy one right there. Blame It on Me off that first album as well. There's some lines in there that are like, makes you go back and you're like, oh, they said that. Oh, okay, cool. And that's kind of what I tried to embrace in Small Time Gambler. So my influences are all over the place. My initial plan, and I'm still kind of hashing things out, was I wanted to dip my feet into a bunch of different genres and just kind of see what I could do. And my idea in the end was to release a record called Mystery Box. And on it, I would have 25, which I think is a pretty meat and potatoes rock song. I got another rock song, and it's a little bit more of a ballad kind of, but it's still got the guitars and still got heavy drums. It's called Lonely Roads. Small Time Gambler's a blues song. I have a folky song called Dead Wheel. And I've got another couple in the cooker right now. I posted one on my TikTok, a little preview of about this guy that I met in New Brunswick. And he was just like, I'll tell this story if we have time, maybe later, but he was basically a pool legend at the bar that we played with in New Brunswick. And I was talking out loud because I saw that he had, I'll tell the story right now. I was at this bar and I was reading that it was just this classic bar that was like the place in this small town. It's called Salisbury, New Brunswick. And there are a bunch of plaques on the wall for these memorial pool tournaments. And on the one, this guy named Jeff McLean had won 3 years in a row with a different partner every time. And I remember thinking, this guy must be a living legend at this place. And I said out loud to the banjo player for us that night, I was like, the streets will never forget 2015 to 2017, Jeff McLean. And as I'm walking out of the bar, there's one guy sitting in the bar, and wouldn't you know, it was Jeff McLean. He was the one other guy sitting in the bar. So I had a conversation with him, and I asked him, how do you win 3 tournaments in a row with a different partner every time? And he says verbatim, that's what I do. I drink beer, I shoot pool, and I win money. And I just immediately, I'm like, that has to be a song. There's got to be a song in there about this local legend. And it's funny because that TikTok, I posted a story talking about this guy and just my experience there. Somehow I tapped into the Salisbury, New Brunswick algorithm, because I swear to God, every single person in that town commented saying, I know Jeff, I know him. He's a legend. This guy's the best. I can't wait to show him, and etc. And one guy commented he needs a song, and I was already way ahead of him. I had started writing something, and it came out as like almost like a little bit of like a country rock kind of blues. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain.
You replying to the, I saw that.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what the fuck you were talking about. I was trying to go through and figure it out.
You go back to the original video. I tell the whole story. I pretty much just told you the whole story.
Okay.
That one, to tie it back to the original question, is a little more of like it's almost like a blues song in a way, but it's more of an upbeat one. It's supposed to paint the picture of a guy who's just the biggest feared legend in this tiny ass town. And anyway, so point is, I've got influences that come from all over the place. 25 really was channeling some of my earliest loves, but really, I try not to hold myself to one genre because I've got influences that come from so many places. And I think as long as you maintain that sense of authenticity, it's important. So I would say that's Billy. So overall, if you want to skip through the last 7 minutes of rambling or whatever it was, Billy Talent's influence number one. Everything else I've listened to is secondary, but that's what I try and go for.
I love it. Well, Alex, I'm an old man now, and it hurts to sit for this long. No, it's kind of cool. So I was going to actually end with this, but I'll train in the business, in the content business, right? And we call this a full circle. Mm-hmm. So if anyone wants to hang out this weekend, I will be at the Burlington Music Festival. Friday night, I will not be at the main stage. I'll be at the West stage watching Stephen Page. So
nice.
I want to watch Stephen Page play. And then, of course, I'll be at the main stage Saturday night watching Big Wreck, who are the headliners. So come check me out, Burlington Music Festival. Free. So if you like listening to music, it's free. Or are you playing this weekend? Maybe you can go follow Hobson and Andy around.
Andy and I on Friday night are playing North by Northeast at the Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto.
Look at you!
Yeah, it's so North by Northeast. For anyone that doesn't know, annual music festival. They've got shows going every night at like 4 or 5 different bars from Thursday until Sunday. Last year we did it. We played at the Cameron House, and this time we're closing things out at the Shoe. So
the Horseshoe Tavern's a big fucking deal, brother.
That's, you know what? I'm not to fluff myself up here, but we played there a couple months ago actually, and it was incredible. Really? Yeah, I stood on they did a night there called Boots at the Shoe, I think it was called, and it was a couple of different country rock artists, folk artists, and stuff, and that was a real crazy moment for me. I stood on that stage. I remember that morning I was on Wikipedia at work looking at Horseshoe Tavern and seeing how many artists have played there. Of course, I saw Billy Talent on there. I saw Rush on there. I saw The Hip on there, and I'm thinking, Jesus, like this is a real turning point.
That's where Blue Rodeo got their start. Yep. It was at the Horseshoe Tavern. I saw Jeff Martin and the Tea Party play at the Horseshoe Tavern. It was like fuck. I'm watching. Yeah. God, freaking Stephen Page. See, took away. I could have went until I get to the Horseshoe Tavern.
That's all good. You'll see us in Georgetown.
So you're going around with Andy. I was on Andy's website. You guys got a busy summer coming up. I saw all the dates. I think you're booked right until August at the moment. So That's fun. You will be at Georgetown at their, I don't know, it looks like they shut down their main street and have some fun. Are you guys headlining that night? You're on the main stage? No, we're opening we're actually, it's kind of crazy. We're direct support for the Kings, who had that one song blow up in the 80s. This beat will go on. This beat goes on and switch to the glide, man. Dude, listen, okay. All right, let's go back to this full circle. Yeah. So I'm from Oakville, Ontario. The Kings are from Oakville, Ontario. Mm-hmm. They played Midnight Madness every year. I'm like 15 years old. I'm laughing because I was actually just playing The Kings Are Here and More album just the other night. Like, I can sing. Waiting for you to come on the show, I was singing Partyitis, which is a King song. That's awesome. Like hoping that you didn't come on and hear me singing it. But I was I did not. I was just like, no, I stopped because I was like, okay, he'll be here in a minute. So I was emailing you, so I really had to concentrate. But I was sitting there like getting ready, like, well, I've got Partyitis. Anyways, that's fucking amazing. What time are you guys on? I don't think we've received the details for that yet, but I would imagine if I had to guess, it would probably be in the ballpark of 7:30, 8 o'clock, maybe sometime around there. That'll be right around the time that I get there. That's fucking amazing that you guys are opening up for the Kings. I'm excited now. Full band performance that night too. That's going to be awesome. Maybe we can hook up and do some socials, blow it up a little bit. Absolutely. That'd be great. I'll, you know what I'll do? I will DM you my phone number, and then I'll shoot me a text, and we can figure some shit out. And I probably want to interview Andy at some point. Maybe let him know. He might be getting a message from me down the road. Would love to have him on. Listen, I appreciate your time, dude. You're one of the best guests I've ever had in any platform. Sports. You're my first music guest, but one of the best guests I ever had, dude. You ever pick somebody up who's got a background in radio and they're not going to shut up? I think it's okay. I love it though. Yeah. I love it because you mean you're from radio, so you get it. Do you know how many interviews I have to carry? And I'm just like, oh yeah, it's the worst. I sit in on them all the time. I'm the producer of our morning show, and our host is sitting there struggling because our guests won't give more than 5 words in an answer. I'm like, I never want to do that. I'll give you way too much shit. Yeah, who are your music influences? Yes. Yeah, literally. All right. Well, that wasn't a yes or no answer, but thanks. Me too. Yeah. Okay, so I'll ask you one more question. I ask that you don't go for 45 minutes. It's a simple question.
Okay.
You've had to have started to attracting or playing with, or like we all have those geek out moments, right? Like I've had it in sports when like Casey Stern did my show and gave me his phone number, and Casey Stern's like a legendary TNT guy, you know what I mean, broadcaster. And he's like, dude, here's my phone number. Give me a call, gave me advice on how to be a better broadcaster. He's one of the guys like, you got to shut the fuck up and just let the guest speak, you know, like all that kind of stuff. Just the other night, I had a geek out moment because Jonathan Gallivan started following me on Instagram. He's now with Moist. He's about to go do the Moist thing. He's one of the founders of a 90s band that I absolutely fucking love called My Brilliant Beast. So it's like I geeked out about it in your travels here and your little blow up moment because you're there, man. I talked to you last week. You had 400 and something followers. Now you're at like 600 and something. Like that
was entirely from the fucking Salisbury TikTok. I'm pretty sure all 200 of those followers are from Salisbury, New Brunswick. So
that's okay. Now you're gonna be on When the Music Matters, so you'll get at least 2. You know, like you'll Beautiful. At least blow up by
Beautiful.
2.
Hey man, every follower matters.
What has been your geek out moment? Who's the artist you played with, or who's the guy who followed you? Or I mean, outside of When the Music Matters and Ray Rout messaging you, like who is the guy? What was the geek out moment?
I actually it's great timing for you to ask this question because I had my geek out moment 2 weeks ago. So growing up, my dad's favorite band of all time was Triumph. And he was a big Triumph guy. He was at Triumph's last show at Canada's Wonderland. He's told me the story a million times about how he hopped the fence when they were getting out of their limo and shook Mike Levine and Gil Moore's hand. And we have been very staunch followers of Rick Emmett ever since then because Rick Emmett's done a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, he's a pretty accessible guy. Like he's taught at Humber for a while, and he's ventured into different music scenes, and he's done a very nice kind of blend of shows, but also like Q&As. Like he loves to pass on his wisdom and stuff that he's learned. And he was one of my earliest guitar inspirations as well. Because I remembered listening to Allied Forces for the first time, and it's just 2 minutes of straight guitar porn. And so, when I obviously got the chance to see him in kind of some intimate venues, it was really cool. But the biggest geek moment came a couple weeks ago. My dad sends me this link on Facebook that Rick Emmett had posted. He's hosting this kind of songwriting circle almost. It's not no one was contributing their own songs really, but it was more just him kind of dumping everything that he knew on people. He was like $20 to get in, and I'm thinking $20 to sit in a call with one of my favorite guitarists of all time and just hear him. Like this is crazy. So I go in there thinking that it's going to be this gigantic 400, 500 people in there listening in, and he's doing a big seminar. There were 14 people total in the call.
Oh, fuck.
And I had an opportunity to ask him a question, and he gave me a 5-minute detailed answer to my face about it. And that was my real geek out moment because it's funny. He gave me some brutally honest advice. I asked him, because I told him, I've got this plan to release a record and call it Mystery Box. I want to dive into a bunch of different genres. And I asked him because I knew that when he separated from Triumph, he had done some Spanish guitar. He had done some classical guitar, some very stuff that was very out of the realm of what Triumph had made their money doing. And I asked him, I was like, how do you maintain your authenticity and not, stray away from what makes you, you when you do that? And he was like, I'm going to be honest, man, you can't. And I know that because I tried. So when I said before that my initial plan was to do something called Mystery Box, that's why I said initial, because now I'm kind of rethinking things. But I think that overall, he was very honest. He was like, overall, you have to just make sure that you believe in the songs that you're writing. And he also said, write a ballad, because ballads are where that you can kind of cross genres here and there. You can, if you're a rock artist, you can write a ballad that'll attract somebody whose favorite artist is Aretha Franklin, right? Like you don't have to make a ballad entirely rock based just because you're a rock artist. So he said, if you're going to do anything, make 1 out of every 4 or 5 songs you write a ballad and you'll be good. So I would say that was for sure my geek out moment, just getting to speak to him face to face and just, the amount of times that I've listened to their stuff, the amount of car rides we've listened to Triumph albums back to back, and all of a sudden this guy's sitting in front of me telling me to my face what he's learned and what he's been able to do and the things that he's done to kind of improve his craft. That was just a crazy moment for me. So
Alex, you have been a fucking gem, dude, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You can follow him at Hobson_Alex. That's both on TikTok and Instagram, I believe. Alex does go by the stage name Hobson, so please don't be looking. I don't want to get messages like, who the fuck is Alex, Ray? He goes, his stage name is Hobson. Go right now. 25 is available. Spotify, Apple, YouTube Music for you YouTube premium people. You can find it there. Alex, thank you so much for being here. And if you don't mind, I would like to end this show by playing your single 25 for the people.
It would be an honor. Am I supposed to just sit here and just kind of like bob my head? Just like, I wrote this. That's good.
If you'd like.
All right.
All right, everybody. You can find me, of course. This is When the Music Matters. Brand new, not a brand new TikTok, but I've discovered again that nobody knows who Ray Rout is on TikTok. So we actually changed today to When the Music Matters because that's just trying to get it. So at When the Music Matters, of course, you can follow me on Instagram at Ray Rout. And everybody, please tune in. Coming up, Dear Pats Nation 2.0 coming out. Any sports fans out there? We don't just talk New England Patriots football. We talk all football. So if you're an NFL fan, NFL, CFL sucks. If you're an NFL fan, please come over. And everybody, please, follow my boy at The Army Chris on Instagram. Chris will be back next week. At the moment, we don't have a guest lined up. So maybe Andy might be getting the message earlier than I wanted to. I didn't want the same band back to back, but we'll see what happens.
Hey, just like me, he will happily fill up 80 minutes of your time.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is 25.